You know what's funny? I'm going to tell you a story about my journey of storytelling. But let me say this. I just did a whole video before this and I wasn't recording. So I got to go through this whole story again. Um, so when I was in elementary school, some students wrote a play um, and just kind of performed it. Well, it wasn't in a full length play, but I remember that I got very very excited and said, "Oh, I want to try it. I want to write it," and I wrote some things down. And it just really, really excited me. I wrote some things down, and one of the classmates read and said, "Okay, this don't have anything, no direction to it." And he was right. I didn't understand. I just wrote dialogue. I didn't understand, writing the direction of what the character's doing, and I didn't understand any of that, and I didn't care. I was just excited. I just got really excited about it. Now that was my first sign that I loved writing or whatever, but I didn't pay any attention to it. So I went to high school. I went to high school, and I did try to go to a school of the arts, a high school, but I didn't get accepted to that school, so I ended up going to another school that totally sent my life on another path. I started getting involved in so many other things, and um, the artistic side of me was not being developed. But I ran into Mr. Hill. Ran into this guy, Mr. Hill, one of my English class, and he recommended. I kind of told him. Let me back up a little bit. Spike Lee had just came out with School Days, and then he came out with Do the Right Thing, and I was so intrigued by Do the Right Thing that I watched it when it came out on VHS. I'm telling my age, but when it came out on VHS, I watched it like every day for like 6 months, every single day, because I really felt like that was a story that I could have written, and I felt like it was a story that came straight out of my mind. And there was another movie named Less Than Zero with Robert Downey Jr. that I also felt like I connected with. So when I told this guy, Mr. Hill, that at class, he was just like, "Well, you should go to Columbia College, School of for Film and Television or whatever." And so now I had not planned to go to college when I graduated from high school. I just wanted to go get a job or whatever. But when he recommended, I was like, you know what, maybe I will do that. So I went in, registered the school, and got in. And at this school, I met a guy named Kenny Young. Um, and I was going to school with one of my best friends, Dale. And Kenny had a friend named Carl. So, um, so they knew a little bit more about writing and filmmaking than I. I mean, at this point, I'm just strictly caring about filmmaking. I wanted to write and make films. But the core of me was a writer, but I didn't know that. So I started writing a script at home, literally writing it out. So I had scratch out scribbles and everything, and just literally writing it on typing paper, just writing down an idea, whatever. And so I told Kenny and Carl that I was writing this, and it was like, well, let us read it, let us, look at it or whatever. Now these guys was my age, what I'm saying? They was a little bit more structured in what they understood about filmmaking and um, storytelling. So they read my stuff, and their response was very, very brutal. It was very brutal and very hurtful to how they dissected it, and pretty much I was just on the wrong path of how this worked, and I didn't understand how it works, and they pretty much let me know that. But and I've told this story several times, but it's probably one of the best things that happened to me. But one of the guys, Carl, studied on him just being brutal. He went and bought me a book to say, hey, you know what? Study this book, man. This will give you a little bit of a foundation on how to write stories and screenwrite or whatever. So at that particular point, I'm competitive within myself. I like challenges. I said, you know what? I'm gonna be better writers than them. I feel like I could be a better writer than they are because I had read some of their stuff. So I read this book to try to get an understanding on how the element of storytelling went. And this book was so informative. I would show you the book, but it's way in the back. Um, but the name of the book, Writing Screenplays That Sell, by Michael Hugh, something like that. But anyway, this book would tell me to watch certain films and understand the elements of storytelling. I know Karate Kid was one, An Officer and a Gentleman was another. So I would watch these films and I would see the different elements of how protagonists, antagonists, and things was written. So I went back to the table and I wrote a script called. Now I'm still in the process of learning. I wrote a script called Amy's Diary, which is a very relevant story until this day, but it's a little outdated. Amy's Diary was about a young girl, a young interracial girl who grew up with a black brother and a black father, and her mom was white. And the film is basically about her inner issues of dealing with being accepted in the world. Now, I wrote this a long time ago, before, like now, it seemed, normal for a story like that to be around. But I wrote this probably in, what, I think 99, 98, 99, and it was full of poetry. Shout out to Mark Harris for providing poetry for it. I wasn't a poet at the time, and it was a script written with a voiceover. But it was a very what's the word? It was a very introspective story about a young lady growing up as a lady and dealing with things that women deal with, but she was also interracial, and just dealing with life and dealing with the stereotypes about her father, her brother, and even her mom, who who had a child with a black man, but still was very racist. And this is a script that I wrote several years ago. But anyway, scratch that one. That's fine. I mean, that was one of my, I feel like, some of my best work as far as storytelling. But I still wasn't where I needed to be as far as learning how to tell a story. I wrote another script. Actually, I had wrote a script before Amy's Diary called Triangle. And Triangle was just kind of some hanging with the homeboy type shit, hanging out, kicking it, talking, just kicking it in Chicago, stuff like that, and we actually shot that film, Triangle, but Triangle never got finished because I quickly realized I was doing guerrilla filmmaking, didn't have any money, and I got a lot done for a person that didn't have money. But because I didn't have any money, I dealt with a lot of issues with the cast and crew, because I didn't have money to feed them. I didn't have water. It was hot, 13-hour sunny days. It was really hot, and I didn't have what I needed to take care of these people that was spending 12, 13 hours on the set. I didn't, I couldn't, so I think I learned in that particular moment. The film never got finished, but we got 80% of it done. And, I think I quickly learned that I didn't want to deal with people's personalities and the complaints of people, whatever. If I ever shoot a film again, it's going to be when I have the money to do it, because you have to deal with, if people are not getting paid and you need them to be at a certain location, they're not gonna necessarily hop up to be there. They're not getting paid, or people are hungry on the set. They've been on the set all day, and you don't have any food, you know what I'm saying? They gotta kinda go run to Burger King or whatever, get them something to eat. After a while, it does become exhausting dealing with that, But I realized storytelling was the main thing that I wanted to do. So I wrote another script called Rainbow. Now this was my breakthrough story. Rainbow was about a woman who was married, but the man she was married to was living on the down low. Now this story was way before the term down low even came out. This story was way before this became something that we talked about. I wrote this story. This story was really ahead of itself. And aside from her husband being on the down low, she ends up falling in love with a woman as well. Um, and so the story is really about her falling in love with another woman. She wasn't gay, but she fell in love with another woman. And so the story is just really about two women being in love. It really wasn't about the down low part. The down low part was a subplot in the story. But that was my breakthrough script, breakthrough story. And I say all this to say that it's a process. I think, if you're a writer, you want to write the best stories. I wrote many scripts over the years that just sat there. But when I would think of a new amazing story, it was my duty to write that story. I didn't focus on whether this was going to be a film or if that's going to be a film. I wanted to be the best writer I could, and it didn't necessarily matter that this is not going to be a film or anything like that. But going back to my journey, so after I did Rainbow, I started writing poetry. And when I started writing poetry, I went to perform, and the poetry took off for me. I started performing, I started writing poetry and performing all over Nashville. At the time, I started performing all over the city, and it took off for me. And I slowly started to get away from filmmaking and writing scripts and things like that. After putting so many years into screenwriting and poetry, I decided I wanted to write a book about my life, a story about my life, and I did that. But I was like, okay, well, I enjoyed that feeling so much that I wanted to write. I have so many stories in my head. I was like, I want to write books now. You know what I'm saying? I stopped doing poetry. I wanted to be taken serious as an author and write the different stories that's in my head. And I released my second book. I just finished my third book called The Nurse and the Poet. And because I've been doing this for so long, my storytelling abilities are literally light years ahead of other authors. What authors have to understand, it's not about money. You have to really be a writer in your heart and then hopefully make money from it. I don't write because I want to get rich. I write because that story needs to be told. Different elements. You know what I'm saying? When somebody, 100 years from now, somebody dig up my books, it means something to me. You know what I'm saying? Because the stories are so ahead of themselves. When I wrote Amy Diary, it was 20 years ahead of itself. When I wrote Rainbow, it was 20 years ahead of it. And so basically, what I want writers to know, it's a process. Be the best writer. Don't let money be your motivator. Let being a good storyteller be your motivator, not money, because it's quite it's it's a real I don't know, I'm losing my thought here. It's really real that your screenplays or your books may sit there if you know what I'm saying? So over the years when I wrote the screenplay, I would let friends read it or whatever, and I got validated from that. But now that I'm writing books, like, you know what I'm saying, everybody can buy my books and things like that. And I've had some success with the books. My books can be purchased on Black Books for Us at blackbooksforus.com, and join my Facebook page, Black Books for United States. Join the group. The whole purpose of this whole thing is to sell books and tell stories and have storytellers like yourself understand that it is a journey. Everything's a journey. Everything's a process. And if you keep writing and keep doing your thing and you search and you reach for new ideas, you will become one of the best writers out there. Everybody's writing about the hood. Everybody's writing about lust and betrayal. How many times can we regurgitate that same story? Love, lust, and betrayal. You know what I'm saying? In some form of action. Somebody cheating on, somebody doing this. It just really gets old. So I'm going to be interviewing a lot of readers and writers on this channel. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of readers and writers who tell you what they look for when they grab a book. What are their best stories? What do they like? And this channel will be able to give you an idea how to upgrade your ideas about storytelling and telling a good story that really, when somebody open it up, because even right now today they're talking about Iceberg Slim book, Pimp, all his books, you know what I'm saying, or Donald Goines, or Octavia Butler, or Kendrick. Those books are always going to get passed down through history. Even Sister Soldier book, The Coldest Winter Ever, or Paul Coelho, The Alchemist. I mean, these are books that I've read that always I can recommend, that or have been recommended to me. So when you write a good story, it lasts forever. But if you're writing to tell a story strictly to what you think is going to sell, you may make volume 1, volume 2, and if it's just about money, then you're only going to get so far. If you're a true writer, write a story that we haven't seen before. Challenge yourself, and you will live forever. Your story will live forever. Like and subscribe to my page. I'm D Revolution. We'll be bringing you the best on storytelling, the best on what readers like, but you gotta subscribe to the channel and check out the website, Black Books for Us at, I'm sorry, that's the email, blackbooksforus.com. Peace.